Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about visiting clients. Okay, so I'm at a rest services halfway between London and home. So today I went out to go visit a client, went to a client site to meet with them and talk about a project that we've been working on for some time and just sort of have some face-to-face time. And being able to meet with clients in person is actually really important, and it has a lot of benefits. The number one benefit for going out, actually leaving the office and going out and visiting a client site, is that I get to have Burger King afterwards on the way home. But the second biggest reason, the second biggest benefit is that it helps establish the rapport and the relationship and everything like that. And a lot of times you get to that face-to-face part, which I've never really been that keen on. Right? I've always been happy with the phone, happy with webcams, happy with Skype. But a lot of clients, they really like the idea that we'll sit down at a table and we'll go through this kind of stuff and it just really hash things out. And I suppose there's a lot of validity to that, right? When I started Overpass, I wanted it to be something that was beyond distance. So the whole name Overpass was, I was trying to think of a bridge or something that reaches across oceans and continents, and I was trying to think something bridge related, and I came up with the name Overpass, right? And and it was a lot of it was influenced by a book I had read back in 2003 by Tom Peters called Reimagine. You may know of him. He's like a business guru. He doesn't do much lately. He's like, you see him every so often. He's big on Twitter, I think, at the moment, but he has a lot of really good presentations and stuff like that from the early 2000s. And one of in this book Reimagine, he talked about distance being dead, which was really interesting to me. So so basically saying, with all the the price of communication going down, we have the internet, we have all this where you could have a day where I've had these days like where I start off in the morning talking to somebody in the Far East, start off at night in the evening talking to somebody on the West Coast in the US, and just sort of spanning the entire globe in the course of a day. And all these communications are free, and we have webcams where we can meet face to face and all this kind of stuff. So my whole philosophy was, you don't need to hire somebody in the same town. You don't need to go get somebody locally, right? So, and when I was advertising this, I hired, I mentioned this before, I hired my friend Matt, or he was looking for some work, so he helped me out doing SEO on my website. And his whole thing was, I want to do local SEO. I want to do, if somebody searches on app developer in Oxford, I want your site to come up first. And I was kind of I was trying to but I really want Overpass to be global. I don't want to limit myself to one area, right? And I'm really glad I didn't insist on that, because this is probably one of the biggest source of clients that we get, is people who are looking for somebody locally. It's like my whole philosophy that you don't need to get somebody local. You don't say, I'm gonna hire the best person that money can buy in a 50-mile radius, right? It should be like the whole world is your oyster. But a lot of clients, they really like the idea that you could go and just have a sit down face to face with them. In fact, one of the biggest things that I hear a lot is, Eric, you're somebody I feel like I can work with. You're somebody I could sit down with, we could go through this, and they really like to have that sitting down close together. Now, I don't think it's always going to be this way. I think we're going to get to the point one day where people are more used to webcams, and they're more used to having these long distance conversations. And there's a lot of, you could disagree with me on that. I mean, I know a lot of people do. It's just not the same as sitting down together at a table or whatever. And you might be somebody who works who does offshoring or outsourcing or anything like that, and you might think, well, we could do work just as well as anybody else. And I think it's kind of unfair, right? But this is something that, if you're somebody who, as an app developer, if you do client work, if you have sold out to the man like I have, and you're doing client work, whether you're doing it full time or you're doing it just while your apps are growing and while you're raising those apps up, that app revenue up, then you think about that, because that's probably one of the biggest benefits. It's something that I didn't take seriously in the beginning, right? So many people out there are just not used to the idea of of having these long distance communications is something just doesn't sit right with them. So like if I wanted to get a client in, say, Boulder, Colorado, for example, somebody in Boulder, Colorado would have a bigger advantage of getting that job than I would, right? It's just the way it is, right? If somebody, if Indian developers who are trying to get clients in the West, a lot of times they have, they have a difficulty because they're not, locally, they can't be found locally and stuff like that. And I don't think it's always going to be that way. I think at some point that advantage is going to go. So if you are somebody who's, this is my advice today, is if you are somebody who does client work, or if you're marketing yourself to clients, think about that local connection, because it's really important to a lot of people. I don't know why, but it just is. And some people just are not used to the idea of using webcams. It's like getting them to set up Skype and use a webcam is like trying to explain to them how to deactivate a bomb or something. You're like, okay, click on the connect button. I don't see a connect button. Okay, do you see the green button? I don't see a green button. What do you see? I see my computer. It's just, it's really hard to get them to get them up to speed. And a lot of times it's people just really like the idea that you just go sit down with them. And so that's my advice to you today. For those of you who have sold your soul and you're doing client work, then that's my advice. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.